Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by FPL Salah to preview the penultimate game week of the season, Game Week 37. Abdul, pleasure to have you back on the channel, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Jack. Thanks. How was yourself?
Yeah, mate, all good, all good. I got a green arrow last week, about 60 places, so probably the smallest green arrow I've ever got. You had a pretty sizable one, though, into the top 100k.
Yeah, this is the first time this season, believe it or not, I'm in the top 100k. So, yeah, I got there eventually. Better late than never. But yeah, I think overall, I'd say overall it's been for me a disappointing season. But like to see where I was in Game Week 9, I was ranked at 4 million in Game Week 9. If I can get a top 100k finish now, then I'd be happy with that.
So current rank, 92k.
Yeah.
What is a realistic target for you?
I was looking at this earlier. So 50k is about 30 odd points off. So I think that's a bit of a stretch. So I mean, I'd say top 70. If I get a wee bit lucky, maybe top 60.
Okay. Now, importantly, you had those 3 free transfers last week, which you'd sort of
Yeah.
saved up. Probably sort of 2 more, I'd say, than the vast majority of managers. I think most managers, just because of strategy and whatever, were on 1 free. So you were able to do not just Wissa in, but also Wood in for Marmoush, or Mateta, whichever way around you want to do it. So that went well.
Yeah.
And now you have, like, you didn't really have to make that decision between Wood, Wissa, which a lot of us had to make. You could sort of, I know Wissa didn't do anything, but you sort of, you saved yourself like the anguish there of a 50-50, which is, I suppose, the benefit of having those transfers. But how are you feeling about your team overall? And yeah, those transfers in particular, and how it sets you up now.
Yeah, I felt quite fortunate. Obviously, we got the Marmish leak, because if we didn't get that, I would have just done Mateta Tabissa, and I would just been no better off, and obviously 7 points down on Wood. But I still feel that my team's in a good spot because I've got 2 free transfers going into this week. I still think that's one more transfer than I'd say the rest of the field. Like the
Yeah.
majority of the field have just got like the 1 free transfer. So I'm still like I think 1 transfer up. So yeah, I've got a few kind of transfer paths I'm thinking of. So right now I'm just thinking of the next 2 weeks. So this week and next week. So that's what I think we'll discuss today.
Okay, let's get into them straight away. You've got quite a strong squad in general with some benching headaches. So I want to ask you about
Yeah.
that at some point. But yeah, let's just go for your overall plans for the next 2 game weeks.
The first path I'm thinking of, right? I'll probably do Wood to Watkins this week. I think I was contemplating, between Isaac and Wood, but I just think having Isaac for that game week 38 fixture and against Everton could be, potentially big. And I think West Ham away is a decent fixture, but and then they got Chelsea at home in game week 38. So I think keeping Isaac over Wood is probably, I'd say, over the next 2 weeks, a better move. So this is what I'm thinking at the moment. Wood to Watkins this week. I'll just use one of the free transfers. I'll probably captain Watkins if I get him. To be honest, it'll probably be between him and Mbeumo. So I would captain Watkins. The way the team's set up there, that's probably how I'd set it up, with Munoz, Guardiola, sorry, I'd play Konsa ahead of Kiwior. So I'd play Konsa ahead of the double Arsenal defence because I was looking at the clean sheet odds, and Villa are higher than Arsenal to keep a clean sheet this week.
Oh,
So
right,
yeah, that'd
okay.
be the kind of the team for Game Week 37. In Game Week 38, I'd bring in Evan Nielsen and Saka for Watkins, and Sar. So I'm not sure yet whether I would get rid of Watkins or Isak. Now, the thing is, I don't know if you've seen the news, but Isak is planned for an operation at the end of the season. I'm just thinking, like, if Newcastle beat Arsenal, then they're guaranteed Champions League football, right, this
Yep.
week.
Yep.
And then maybe they don't need Isaac for game week 38. Maybe they just send him away early for the operation. I've seen some talks regarding that as well.
Yeah.
So obviously that transfer would stay open. I'd obviously keep my ears open for that news. And if Isaac was a bit of a doubt for game week 38, then obviously I just keep Watkins and do Isaac to Evan Nielsen instead. But I think that leaves me with a quite strong team for game week 38 as well. Evan Nielsen against Leicester, and then Saka. I'd probably captain him against Southampton.
I think this is the benefit of you having these extra transfers because, as you said, you can make that decision on the final day, which one of
Yeah,
Isak or Watkins to get rid of. Watkins has a really good fixture final day, in my opinion, anyway. So like, if you
yeah,
had to get rid of Isak, you'd be completely happy with that.
yeah,
And you'd be able to keep Watkins. Like, it's just strong. Whereas a lot of people, I think, are going to be. Well, I'm talking about myself, really, sort of scrambling to get players out of the team rather than attacking individual fixtures. Because if you do go for Watkins and you do that by selling Wood, which is what your plan is this week, then and then you sell Watkins the following week, you're doing something which is sort of like I suppose you wouldn't normally do normally in the season, which is get a player in for 1 week, then sell, and then do the exact same thing in that exact same position the week after, and then sell.
yeah. I mean, that's the kind of benefit of having these transfers, and I think saving up these transfers has given me a lot of like flexibility in these last 3 or 4 game weeks, and it's given me going forward for the next 2 weeks. It's as you can see, it's left me quite flexible, and those do seem like luxury moves, but I'm just playing like what's in front of me now. That's all we could do. And like those like for example, guys like yourself who only got one free transfer, you've probably got to commit to a player now, or just commit to maybe playing I guess a bit of a suboptimal team this week to save a transfer and have because I think having 2 free transfers for Game Week 30 is going to be really important. And I think people realise that, and for that reason, I think a lot of managers probably will reluctantly save, rather than getting in like popular options like Watkins and Palmer for this week, which could bite them this week.
Okay, mate. Let's have a look at something that we don't look at too often, to be fair, which
Uh,
is the player points predictions over the next 2 game weeks. I just want to
yeah,
sort of get your opinions on these predicted points and whether you think these are accurate or not. You mentioned bringing in Saka game week
yeah,
38, but according to like predicted points, he's one of the best options for this week. I mean, if I sort just by this week, he is predicted to score the most points out of any player this week.
yeah. I mean, look, if I could get to Saka this week with 2 free transfers along with Watkins, I'd get him. I'm just a bit like, I guess, kind of stuck on that sense just now in terms of I've got poor team value as well, but I totally agree with that. And I like the fact that if the game week range for the next 2 weeks has got Isaac as third, so that kind of backs up my decision to like get rid of Wood instead of Isaac because I think first of all the Everton fixture could be great, and I don't even think that this Arsenal fixture is like. I think look, Newcastle are going to score. Like if you look at the clean sheet odds for Arsenal this week, I think it's like 33%.
Right.
Like which I was quite shocked at when I first seen like Newcastle at home. I would say Newcastle's a tough game, but 33% clean sheet odds, which shows that Newcastle are probably going to score. And like if Isaac gets a goal, that's probably like 8 to 9 points. So yeah, I like the fact that it kind of backs up that idea, and I think it agrees with the fact that obviously the Everton fixture is really good there as well. Watkins is top six as well. So
Yeah.
basically, all these players like Watkins, Saka, Isaac, are players that I plan to have in my team for the next 2 weeks. So that is reassuring.
That's pretty strong. Fair enough. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I feel like this is again, and I've said this a few times, but this is why you've done well. Is this like you're able now to really go for these sort of players? I want to get your opinion on Palace and just what you think their team is going to be for this Wolves at home game, and how much rotation you think there's going to be in that game. And also sort of Tottenham as well. Like these teams that don't have anything to play for in the
yeah,
league, just because everyone's thinking about Watkins this week, rightfully so. I mean, I think it'll be a good game anyway, but it's that
mm,
rotation that we think is going to happen that it makes it a really good game. Similar with Palace, like after the cup final, they're probably going to rotate. United maybe as well.
yeah.
So what? So well, definitely as well. Sorry. How are you sort of judging those teams in particular, and how you view them now with bigger games outside of the Premier League for them to come?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off with Palace. I think with Palace, it's the most uncertain. Like, I don't think anybody has a clue because I think firstly it probably depends. I think if they win, it's, I think if they win, they've probably got more chance of starting. I'd say because they probably want to start the team that won. You know what I mean? And like give them a run out or something like that. I don't know, but like just kind of. taking that out of the picture, I think Munoz, if you're looking at positions, is probably the one most likely to start, right? And if you're looking across at, Munoz, Sarr, Eze, Mateta, I think he's like, he's super fit. In terms of like direct replacements, there's more like kind of competition for the other players. The thing with Sarr is he's a Muslim, so he won't be out drinking and all that kind of stuff. So he might be, and he's his minutes have been really good this season.
Yeah, interesting.
Overall, probably more than Eze and Mateta. I
Yeah.
know he got taken off before Eze the last game week, but kind of if you look over the past 10 game weeks, his minutes have been better than Eze and Mateta. So I'd say that them two, for me, have got a decent chance of starting, but there's just no way to know. I think if you can
Mm.
bench your Palace assets this week, or even like if you want to sell them, I think it's totally fine to do that. I could possibly even, bench Munoz this week. I think I'll probably take the risk with them both. And I think there's even a chance they miss out completely. Like, possibly like, they just give them the kind of the game off. I
Yeah.
mean, that'll be on the realms of possibility as well. It's just tough because it's a good fixture. Wolves at home is a good fixture.
Mm.
So you could really get burnt this week with your Palace assets if you bench them or sell them.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point about Saar. Do you think then, if you were to rank Eze, Saar, Mateta, and Munoz, that you'd have, well, yeah, rank them in terms of their how likely you think they are to
Hmm.
start in 37?
I'd say Munoz, Eze, Sarr, and Mateta.
So still Eze above Saar.
Yeah,
Okay.
just because of the his recent form.
Yeah.
He scored twice, and in the last game he scored the game before that. He's on penalties, so I think he's kind of gone up a bit in the pecking order over the last few weeks.
Okay. It's a tough one. I mean, yeah, people will know if they've watched yesterday's video with Bakar that I'm scrambling in terms of what I'm doing with my Palace players.
Yeah.
Uh, Now Bakar mentioned in yesterday's video, which is something I want to get your opinion on as we come to talk about captaincy, that he thought that Palmer was the best captain option this week. Where's your head at with captaincy? I know you've said about getting Watkins in and potentially captaining him or maybe in Burma, but if you could captain any player in the game this week, where would you go?
Um, that's tough because I think it's quite close between Watkins and Palmer. I don't think Palmer is like the far and away the best captain. I mean, I did actually think of a path of Sar this week doing Sar and Wood to Palmer and Evan Nielsen. That's something I could do.
Oh, yeah.
I would be a lot more tempted with that if Evan Nielsen had a better fixture this week,
Yeah.
because Bournemouth have got City away, so it's a bit tough doing that. But then obviously that would be dependent. If I thought Palmer was far away the best captain this week, that's probably what I'd be doing. But I do think it's quite close between Palmer and Watkins. I think if you've got an easy route to Palmer, he's a great option to get and captain because he's an easy move to Saka in Gameweek 38 as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think I wouldn't be ripping up my team, to get Palmer in. I think whichever is easier at Watkins and Palmer for your team, and whichever makes the most sense, do that. In terms of who's better, though, I'd probably put Palmer just ahead, but not by much. Just because he's on penalties, likely to play 90 minutes. Obviously, midfielder gets more points for a goal and clean sheet point and the assists as well.
What are your thoughts on taking hits this late in the season? You don't need to do it because
Yeah.
you've got three frees. But for everyone else, pretty much that has probably one free, it seems like that anyway. Do you think hits are worth it? For example, I could do. I don't know who my striker is. Who is it? One of my strikers to Watkins, and then I could do Eze to Palmer, but that would be for a hit. Would you do that, for example?
I think if you're going to captain Palmer and you think he's the best captain option this week, then that's worth it. Yeah, I would say because Eze might not even start this week. He might not even play. So you're in a situation where, I mean, obviously we know that as we get near the end of the season, hits are less worth it. The less time to pay off. But you've you've got a play. You've got a situation here where the player might not play. So Palmer I think has a fairly decent chance of outscoring Eze by 4 points. And if you're going to captain him, then he very likely will.
It's interesting because like I know I'm talking about Bakar here, but it's interesting like having your two guys' opinions. And often they're not too dissimilar, but maybe you differ a little bit on this because he was saying that hits this late in the season aren't great because they don't have enough time to pay off necessarily. And I do kind of agree with that. Ideally, you'd take a hit and then give it as much time as possible to recoup those points. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. If you think that Palmer is going to significantly outscore Eze, I don't know. I'm in two minds with it personally.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I mean, those are great moves, and I think they could pay off. But like, it just kind of depends on what you think on Palmer, because the Palmer move is the hit, right?
yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, if Eze doesn't start, or if you think Palmer is definitely the best captain, then I'd be inclined to make that move. But for me, because I don't think that there's much between Watkins and Palmer, I'd probably just try and get if it was my team, I'd just get Watkins and captain him.
Yeah, that's what I'm currently leaning towards. To be honest with you, just not sure it's worth a hit. And I like Saka in 38 as well, so I'd probably just do Eze to Saka in 38 or something like that. But yeah, there we go, mate. I think that's gonna do it for this one. Good stuff as always. And yeah, guys, as I said in the last video, I want to know now because we've got another day's worth of information and maybe your plans have changed. But let us know in the comments your transfer plans and who you think the best captain option is for this game week. I think it's going to be quite split, which means that if you land on the right player and they go off, it's going to be pretty profitable for your team. So yeah, this is a big week in terms of captaincy, I think.
Yeah, just a comment on that as well. Actually, I think I done a poll earlier
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, really good.
on the captaincy. Yeah, so like Watkins is ahead on 42%, Salah 22, and Mbemo 23, and other 13. I think
Wow.
I think we could possibly have a week where we don't have a captain over 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
I think if there is one, it's probably going to be Mbemo. Because he was right about 160% in the top 10K last week, 130% in the top 100K. So, but I do think a lot of guys are going to go with get Watkins and captain him. So it's a good week. It could be like a really swingy week, and it's a good week to kind of I guess go with your gut on the captaincy. There's 2 weeks left, and if you want to chase, then this is a good week to do it. Because I don't think you're going to get burnt heavily with the likes of like Embuemo and Salah, just because of how the split is going to be.
Okay, there we go, mate. Good stuff to end this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Make sure to check out Fantasy Football Hub down below. Top link in the description. And we will catch you guys on the next one.